you'll notice how thick they are. Now, there's a difference between what we were talking about in class just now, about treating a room. Our goal with where I was telling you to put the panels and things is to flatten out the frequency response, to make it sound correct, to make it sound right. There's a difference between that and like soundproofing, where you're trying to stop the sound from leaving, stop outside sounds from getting in, inside sounds from getting out. Big difference between those two things. To stop sound, you need mass. Yeah, I mean, it's no longer about absorbing, it's about stopping it in its tracks, right? On both sides that are not exactly parallel, so there's not a standing wave between them. And yeah, they give us the ability to really easily isolate things a little bit. We slide that kind of back in there where it goes.
Question.
Yeah.
Do they sell them individually or do they sell like in sets?
Say it again?
Do they sell them individually or do they sell them in sets usually?
I think these were custom made for us.
Okay.
And
You want to know how much they were? I say about $5,000.
probably.
Well, how much do you think it is to custom
Each?
build one of these?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, each.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's not. The ceiling has good height, and once again, we don't have a parallel surface. We have the slope, but in order to keep it high enough, it's got that kind of staggered slope, so that it's not way down the back wall over there. And then these multi-leveled surfaces that you see are diffusers. So the purpose of absorption is to absorb the sound wave and stop it. The purpose of diffusion is to reflect it in a bunch of different directions at the same time, to kind of scatter the wave. 4 things that happen with a sound wave: absorb, diffuse, diffract, and reflect. So we've got plenty of reflection, absorption, diffusion, and then diffract just means to bend around the thing, which we talked about last class. Okay, Ellie, Studio A. Again, you know, in a control room, I wouldn't mix it here, right? In a control room, this wouldn't be good, but for where you're putting a microphone on an instrument, we want different spaces for different kinds of sounds, and this might be good for something. All right? This might be loud as well. If you want to watch your ears, that's okay. Go ahead, Ellie, hit that button. South staircase. Nope, this is north staircase. Shoot. Hit the button again, sorry. North staircase. Did he even hit it out here?
You felt your ears? So I'm just like.
Definitely different than the room we were just in. Really, it's, you know, harsh, like pretty loud, harsh kind of.
You think it's because of like the glass?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I want you to figure out. When you look at the assignment, like the paper is kind of asking you to talk about a few of these spaces, and it's like based on the building materials and size and shape and all of these other things, anything you think matters. How did that change? That's why I'm having Ellie record these sounds, so you can hear them just like all back to back to back when you sit down to write it and kind of look at your pictures, you know. All right, I'm gonna go up there. One of the things the paper asks you to talk about is like noise factors, you know, like things, unwanted noise. When we talk about clarity, we say, you know, unwanted noise inhibits clarity. So I noticed in the staircase I could hear like airplane noise and that sort of thing. In here we've got Sam's drill. And just kind of look around, think about the 4 things we talked about: absorptive, reflective, diffusive, diffractive. What might contribute? What sort of things this space is probably used for? When you're ready, Ellie. Gillespie Theater. Definitely different than Studio A, definitely different than the staircase. All right, you can follow me through. Let's walk where he's not. Building materials.
Control that crowd, you're right.
It's not an accident, the angles of the walls and that sort of thing. That is a calculated acoustic design. Think about why it might be that way. And have a listen. Davidson Theater. Sounds bigger. South staircase. Let's do one more. Just try and, if we stay as quiet as possible, listen to how long before you can't hear it at all anymore. South staircase. Now, same building materials as the other staircase, but very different sound, right? So think about why. Think about why. Don't say it, just consider it.
But I have to say, back in the day, before all the technology was developed, we used to literally find these halls in order to run guitars, drums, and so forth, to get the effect, turn it down, get it out, whatever we needed to make it work.
It's pretty fun, right?
Yes, it was.
I mean, that's
why I was so impressed with
that's engineering.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
When you think about
it impressed me a lot. I would record it here. Listen to that. Here we go. Just perfect. It's cool.
It reminds me of that one poor lady that like sings in the staircase to like freak people out. Because it sounds like very eerie.
How should we sing it?
She'd be like, I don't know, it's like some like weird, like little spooky little thing. But she's like, and she'll like sing at the bottom of the stairs, and while people are coming down, and she's like, what the fuck?
If there's a little more budget, I can tell you the one that I actually love. But front entryway. Weird, right?
What?
Now you got to figure out why. Now, again, don't say it, but just think about it. Why? Why does it sound like that?
Can you hit it one more time for
Yeah,
us?
sure. Here you go. Now you're fine.
So cool. What?
That's called. Okay, yeah, sure. That's called flutter echo, by the way. Let's see. Again, when we talk noise factors, you know, it's a little louder out here, but. Okay, so, you know, don't build your recording studio next to a railroad track, don't build it next to an airport, don't build it next to a fire station, because that stuff, yeah, I mean, you don't have control, you can't keep that sound out, you know, that's gonna get in the mics no matter what. If you live in Daytona, like, if your recording studio is here and it's not deep in the center of a building like this, guaranteed like race week, bike week, like you're just off, you know, because you can't record during that stuff. Noise factors. Listen for that echo though. That's kind of the interesting part of this one. Maybe we'll wait until the plane gets a little ways down.
I used to have one of those Martin backpacking guitar.
Yeah.
I love those things.
Yeah.
These things are awesome.
Yeah, it's nice and portable, it's light, bro.
Exactly, and they're cheap Martins that aren't crap.
All right, let's try and figure out what the. Just as soon as the plane was gone, the motorcycle kicks in.
Yep.
Yeah, man. What if we're walking on shotgun?
There's a lovely sound. There's a lovely sound. Okay, can we record this one? Parking lot. It's like you hear that initial hit and then you hear the bounce come back at us. Dot, dot. And if we timed it out, what is that? Probably like maybe, how much?
Like half a second.
Half a second-ish. Yeah, maybe a little less. I mean, the easy thing to figure out would be like, how far is it to the post office? And we'll say it's probably, what anyone have a better estimate than me? Maybe 200 feet? Does that feel too much?
I feel less.
Too little?
I thought it's probably like 600 feet.
Nah, it's not that much.
Maybe like
House
100
is next to
yards,
you.
maybe like 200-300.
So maybe about football field length?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll say football field is 300 feet, 100 yards. Then that would be, again, sound travels roughly 1 foot per millisecond, you know, 1,130 feet per second. So 300 milliseconds, 600 milliseconds. 3 to get there, 3 to get back. That's just about half a second. That's 6/10 of a second. So that's exactly what's happening. We're just bouncing the sound off the post office. Yep.
And we have background music.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it cool? I do like that. All right, let's go in and we'll just kind of recap. Just doing things like this is fun for me. Taking a drum around and just sampling it in a bunch of wild spaces. There's no reason you can't drop this into a track.
That's facts.
But one thing we've said through all of this is like control room is supposed to be neutral. It's supposed to have no effect on the sound. So whatever we hear in this space is going to be the pure drum sound, and everything else that you've heard through this whole experience was the room, was all the room, and nothing beyond this drum sound.
It was lies.
Control room B. And that's it.
Yeah, man.
And that's the drum. Okay, so to recap, the 4 things that are happening are always some combination of reflection, absorption, diffusion, diffraction. We've seen intentional, purpose-built solutions to do each one of those. And then we've seen just the way sound behaves in the wild using some combination of all of those. So when you go to this week's content and you see that we have this paper due, I will put up these samples that Ellie has recorded for us. And
Does it record good quality samples? You feel like?
it records fairly natural, realistic.
Not too much distortion in it.
No.
Okay.
And so I'll put those up, and in addition to that, you've got the pictures that you took of the spaces. The paper is going to ask you to talk about some really specific things. If you lost points on the last paper, it was just missing a detail in the instructions, you know. This paper is going to be longer. It asks for, I believe, 1,200 words, and will be turned in exactly the same manner. I still want you to, I still care most about the content of what you were saying, way more than your grammar and spelling and any of those things, but this will be the only thing you ever write for me that we are actually calling a formal writing, in that I do want it to be presented like a college paper. You know, some of the other stuff I'm like, just whatever, you're talking to me like you're talking to your friend, or you're emailing or whatever, that's fine, but this time this is one formal writing. All right, remember please, as our syllabus and content module says, we will not be meeting face-to-face next week. So Monday and Wednesday we are not meeting in here. Instead, you are taking an online exam. It is 1 hour, 50 points, multiple choice, true, false. You can take that at any time between the open and close dates on that exam. But once you begin, you can't save your progress and stop. Once you begin, the hour is ticking away. I want you to use any available resources that you have to do well on this test. So please, if you have taken good notes, use your notes. If you think you can, within that hour time limit, if you think you can look up additional information in the text or some of the slides that I give you, yes, do those things. It helps you retain the information. It helps you learn, I don't feel bad about making this open whatever. But don't forget to do that. And don't show up here, because I'm not leading class next week. That's only for my class though. The rest of your classes on as scheduled. And if you have me for DAW, on as scheduled. Just this. All right.